Commission of Inquiry into the Usindiso Building fire has now completed its work, and that report is expected to be officially handed over to Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi this weekend. The survivors of the fire remain homeless. They still live in temporary structures, and no one has been held officially accountable 8 months later. Ziniko Mhlaba is in the CBD, at the site where this tragedy unfolded, and joins us now. Ziniko, good morning to you. This is, if we recall, we just remember those terrible visuals when the incident occurred. This is a story that stretched right around the world, making headlines across the world for the sheer depth of the tragedy. Tell us where you are, how the story, in a way, has come full circle with the completion of this investigation and commission of inquiry.
Good morning to you, Iman. Yes, we are in the Johannesburg CBD, particularly in Parktown. That's where we find the office of the Premier. That's where the report of the whole process is at this point. You understand that Justice Sikambe has handed over the report to the Premier to peruse before the official handing over of the ceremony, which is expected to be taking place this coming Sunday here in Johannesburg. Remember that it was August when people lost their lives, especially when the Usindiso Building was engulfed into fire. The international community came to South Africa covering that story, but also, we saw the officials from government, starting with the president himself, or the public president Ramaphosa, descending onto that particular site, ensuring that everything was well. Over 70 people lost their lives, 200 people, were displaced, and I can tell you right now, some of them are still living in those temporary shelters in and around the Johannesburg CBD. So what has been happening, remember that the commission was given a certain period of time to complete its work. There were two parts which Premier Lesufi Panyaza mandated the commission to look into. The first part was looking into the actual cause of the fire at Usindiso Building, so investigating and finding all the facts that will give the country insights into what exactly happened on that tragic day. And that will be the first part, which has been concluded at this point by the commission itself. The second part will be broadly looking at the state of hijacked buildings in Johannesburg. So that will be the second part, which we expect to be taking place after the completion of the first part, which was specifically looking at the Usindiso Building fire. The second part will be looking at the trend and dynamics of the extent of having a hijacked building in the CBD. So the first part has been concluded, but what we'll be doing today is engaging with all those relevant stakeholders who are part and parcel of the proceedings of the Commission of Inquiry. We saw some witnesses taking to the stand, sharing their pain and telling us what exactly happened on that fateful day. But also there were some NGOs who were implicated and who were also to some extent were accused of having, hamstrung the government by taking government to court whenever government was trying to ensure that, it clears out all the occupied buildings where people are living illegally. There were some NGOs who were accused of ensuring that those people are kept and remain in those unsafe buildings. So we'll also be speaking to them, just checking and reflecting how they saw the proceedings, which took over 5 months. So was it all worth it? Did they manage to get the answers they were looking for during that the proceedings of the Commission of Inquiry? And also speak to the survivors themselves. How was their experience as they were asked and were tasked and were mandated to relieve the moments of that tragic day? So that's what we'll be doing today. From here in the next hour, we'll be visiting some of those temporary shelters, engaging with those who lost their lives, but importantly, those who shared their experiences at the commission, but also speak to the activists themselves who have been involved in all these proceedings from day one, from the day that fire, that building caught fire to today, when now we will finally know over the weekend who must be held accountable. Will there be any binding commitments that the Commission will be asking the Premier to do in terms of holding someone accountable? So that's what we'll be doing throughout the day, Ima.
Nika, you've got your work cut out for you, and as you say, talking to the families of those who perished in the fire, and we already heard in the commission and some of the evidence provided just how horrific those final moments were when people couldn't exit that building. And what I think a lot of South Africans will be looking to, Ziniko, is to see, as you say, whether there are methods to prevent and whether there will be any directives to prevent further tragedies like this from happening, in terms of making sure that buildings are secure and there's no room for the hijacking of buildings and the exploitation of those who need accommodation. Ziniko Mhlaba out there for us in the Johannesburg CBD. We'll check back with him later.